I've got a really strange one that you might not believe. Be me. I work as a home inspector. My job is pretty simple, really. I do my best to scope out houses before people pull the trigger and make the purchase. I make sure that there is no structural damage, water damage, electrical problems, or problems with wiring or plumbing issues. That sort of thing. Basically, anything the selling party might look to hide, as it would be a financial and time burden for them to fix / also reduce the selling cost of the property. I'd say around 95% of the time, it's a straightforward job. Maybe even a little boring at times, you might say. That other 5% usually contains issues with minor damage, usually small dramas. Inside of that 5%, I'd say maybe 0.01% of the time, you end up dealing with something that really sticks with you. Something catastrophic which requires all of my time and attention. This is one of those times, and is easily the worst thing I have ever seen. Something I wish I had not seen. I got a call a couple of weeks ago. It was about some house that was located just on the outskirts of the city. It was an older place, built sometime in the 1960s, if I recall correctly. It was slightly run down, but the couple who wanted to buy it seemed enthusiastic enough. They said they were planning on fixing it up and turning it into a real gem. They were a young couple, newlyweds. The wife was recently pregnant, and they wanted to forge a proper home for the family. They just wanted to be sure that everything was safe before they moved in and got to work. I set out to work pretty much the next day. I usually start out my inspection in the basement when I am called out at these jobs. 99% of the time, when there is a possible problem, the basement is always the suspect. It is where all the real problems hide. Poorly constructed foundations, mold that is impossible to get rid of. Usually a breeding ground for pests too, especially if it has not been inhabited for a while. Sure enough, the basement was the culprit this time too. I found something really strange. I spotted a vent that was located in the far corner of the room. It caught my eye almost immediately. It was because the thing was screwed shut from the outside. This was an immediate red flag to me. This is an air vent. You never ever seal this shit up. You always need access in case of a blockage or problems like that. I went over to inspect it straight away. Pulled out a flashlight I had brought with me, just so I would not miss anything. I got down to the floor and shined it through. I froze. There was something fucking in there. At first glance, I just thought it was a pile of rags that were old and discarded, or maybe just some insulation, but I did a double take, and my eyes caught sight of the outline of something else in there. Was that a fucking mattress? What the fuck? Not just a mattress, there was a plate next to it, with something on it. It looked like rotten meat. This whole experience only took a couple of seconds, and as I had gotten onto the floor, closer to the vent, the smell coming from in there hit me really hard. It was foul, possibly the worst thing I had ever smelled in my life. It smelled like a mixture of sweat and decay. I could not figure out exactly what it was, but I did not want to smell that anymore. I left for a few seconds to find something to plug my nose, and then came back. I came back to give another inspection. My first thought was that maybe someone had been squatting under the house and using it to live in. I don't remember quite how long the house had been uninhabited, but these fuckers will take any opportunity. You could be out for one day, and they would swarm the place if they could. It was probably either a squatter or a junkie, using it as a spot to get high. This was not looking good for that couple. I unscrewed the damn thing and leaned in closer. As I did, I felt really uneasy. Something felt off. There was like a pattern to all of the mess and filth. The floor of the crawl space was packed dirt, but there were holes dug into the ground. Shallow holes. It looked like someone had been trying to dig and scratch at the earth with their fingernails. When I shuffled inside a little further, I saw something else. Bones. Not chicken bones, like someone had been eating takeout. Not bones from a tiny rodent, like a rat or a mouse that had been killed. They were long bones, long enough to be the bones of a human. Some of the bones were picked clean, but some, oh God, just thinking about the sight and the smell makes me want to vomit on the spot. Some of them still had bits of dry, blackened meat clinging to them, drooping off. I almost started heaving. I felt my stomach turn. The peg I had to close my nose up was basically doing nothing now. I should have bolted out of there at that second, called the cops, alerted the couple. I felt like I had to finish my job though, get to the bottom of what the fuck this was. I saw something else in that dirt that caught my eye. It was a notebook of some kind. It was placed just behind the mattress and was sitting there. It had stains on it, deep dark ones. The cover was damp when I picked it up, which made me recoil. It was from the moisture, which was causing it to curl. I should not have touched it when I did, but I could not leave without at least reading it. My gut told me to leave, but I did not listen. I flipped it open. I turned through the pages. The pages inside were filled to the brim with names, almost like a logbook, like people were checking in at a hotel. There were dates too, signatures. Some of them were old, a couple of years ago. Some of them were recent, the last couple of months. I continued flipping through. There were some hastily scrawled notes on some of the pages in barely legible handwriting, talking about the next meeting and what was next on the menu. I got to the most recent page. It was yesterday's date. A never scribbled mess of a note. It just read, "They are coming to see the house tomorrow," and it was circled. All I could do was just stare and try to process what I was reading. My hands were clamming, and I could barely catch my breath. I was alone down there, but now I had the sudden, sinking feeling that I might be being watched. I very quickly flicked my flashlight back to the dirt floor I was resting on. There were more fucking notebooks. So many of them, just half buried in the crawl space. 6, maybe 7 of them in total, by my counts. I expected more of the same, but some were different. I reached for one and opened it up. There were not just names in this one. This one had crude sketches. Some of them were simple, shitty stick figures that you would see a child draw in class. Others, they were more detailed, grotesque drawings of people, some with their faces scratched out, some with their eyeballs being pulled and removed, some with missing teeth, with bits of skin missing. One of them was of a woman with long hair, but her mouth was drawn to be impossibly wide, with her teeth cracked and her tongue having been cut partially. Whoever drew these was sick in the fucking head. Some of these drawings had names written next to them, with little notes too. The one with the woman had a name with a fucking address written down, as well as just the word, slowly. I flicked through an endless number of drawings, so many, and the last page just had a note reading, "How many do I need this weekend?" I felt a wave of cold rush over me. I had to get the fuck out of here right now. I scrambled back over to the exit, and I knocked over that plate of disgusting, putrid meat by accident. Flies had been swarming it, and they all took off. There was something else on that plate too. Not just the meat, but a scattering of teeth. Clearly human teeth. 2 incisors and a molar, with some flesh still stuck where it had been pulled out. I got out and ran. I did not even bother to take the time to screw the vent cover back on. Fuck that. I just grabbed my bag and my torch and I ran up the basement stairs, just trying to breathe. I ran outside to my car and I drove until I got home. I just sat in my car for what must have been an hour, just staring at the garage door in front of me. I finally snapped out of it and told the couple. I told them not to go, that it was not safe, that I was calling the cops about a biohazard. Even after witnessing something like that, I did not want to scar them for life, so I kept details to a minimum. The police took a statement and searched the crawl space. The notebooks I had told them about had all gone by the time they arrived. They did a sweep of the house. They told me they did not want to freak me out, but that they had found traces of people upstairs. Like, recent. That day. I don't know if they were there while I was in the house, or if it had been another time. The police would not tell me much more, except that it was a serious case, and that they could not provide me with any further updates at this time. I really don't even know what the fuck to think, X. What was going on in that place? Some exposition. There is an older man who lives a few blocks away from me. He lives on his own, with some assistance from his comparably creepy mother. There was a time when a growing family lived near him, and my best friend spotted him at their house one day, outside with the young daughters of the family. He invited them to his garage and was kicked off the property by the father figure. That family moved shortly after. He has also been known to, around Halloween, leave a box of pine cones out at the end of his driveway, labeled with the word free. He always rides his bike around the neighborhood, sometimes with a box of beer cans in the bike's basket. Story time. B17. It is summer. Out on a walk with my older sister, then 19, before it gets dark. See man approach our position on his bike, coming from the opposite direction. Both of us start getting nervous, but I calm myself by assuming he will just go right past us. Also, he is one of those people that rides their bikes very slowly. He passes us, but when I notice that the sounds of his bike have not completely dissipated, I look over my shoulder and notice that he has turned around and is now behind us. Oh hell no. He starts talking to us. Hi girls. We ignore him, because what else are we supposed to do? He talks again. How old are you girls? Juniors? I answer no, because I would be a senior in the fall. Sis is too nervous to answer. He asks, sophomores? When I answer no again, he rides off ahead of us. At that point, we start heading home. Just as our house comes into view, we hear his bike again. He is behind us. As we are thinking about crossing the street to go to our house, he pulls up right next to us and stops his bike to talk. I don't give him time to form a coherent sentence since he was mumbling. I repeatedly tell him to leave us alone and go away already. He is a little stunned and asks us why he should. I tell him that he is bothering us. He tells us that he wasn't doing anything and indignantly rides away. Sis and I head into our house once he is out of sight, and to this day, I am still wary of taking walks in the evening. What I found to be especially creepy about the experience is that when he was guessing our ages, he guessed lower after his first guess, not higher. Also, when I was even younger, probably around 15, he would call up to my friends and I when we would pass by his house on our walks. Sometimes, he would even whistle at us from his open windows. Overall, he is definitely someone to avoid. Be my mom. 1980s in Jersey, Channel Islands, UK, 18 years old. Back then, you still had to record the top 20 on a cassette. Realizes she ran out of new ones and decided to ask a friend for one. Friend lived in an orphanage all of teen years. Borrows cassette and runs home to record the top 20. Before it starts, decide to record one song to test it. For whatever reason, she and I will never know. Attempts to replay song, and notices it not only did not record, but there was horrific sounds. What the actual fuck? Mom skips back and forth on the recording, trying desperately to find her song or identify the noise, hoping that there was a strange interference when she was recording. Top 20 starts, and she attempts to record once again. After song is done, plays it back. Still will not record over whatever these terrifying sounds are. Decides to listen to the tape all the way through. The beginning of the tape played chanting. It did not sound pre-recorded apparently, and she could hear whoever was recording breathing next to the mic. The chanting slowly becomes louder when she hears something being dragged and sobbing. hears a child screaming bloody murder and wishes she would have turned off the tape. Does not hear much after that, but feels violated by her friend, exposing her to this sick joke. Calls friend and asks, "Where in the hell did you get this tape? This is not funny at all." Friend says, "That isn't even my tape. I found it in my roommate's drawer." Mom tells her to get the fuck over to the house and listen to it. Friend's horrible expression while listening clarifies that this girl was clueless to this tape containing anything close to her. Friend asks roommate where the tape came from. Friend says she found it when she had moved in 5 years ago. Mom does research on her island and finds out witchcraft was rampant near where the tape was found, St. Clement. About 5 to 6 months ago, just dark. Home alone. Mom is out doing whatever, and Dad is away. Up in my room, fucking about on my laptop. Hear front screen door slam. Oh, Mama's home, okay. I think I hear back door sliding open. Weird. Gonna go talk to Mom. Walk downstairs. You can see through the house from the front door all the way to the back. Look towards back door and it is open. Weird. Think Mom's gone outside to feed the chickens. Walk out the back door. Did not turn on patio light because I thought Mom would just be there. Not there. Walk across the backyard to the chicken pen. Chicken pen shares a wall with a shed. Walk to the doorway of the chicken pen. Mom, the dogs didn't bark when you pulled up. Some guard dogs they are, huh. Can hear a sort of murmured grunt. Think Mom has fallen over. Can hear something tapping the shed wall. 1 foot in doorway. Mom, are you okay? I'm not your mother, comes a sort of gurgled, deep voice. Fucking freak out. Sprint back inside. Slam sliding door. Run upstairs to my room and called Mom. Freaking out over how I could have just been murdered. Call Mom. Does not pick up. Wait up in my room, shitting bricks. Mom gets home. Ask what the fuck. Why am I freaking out? Back door's half open again. Made Mom wait up at the driveway with me and the dogs until the police came to check the house. Obviously, by then, the crazy guy had gone. Found blood on the back door and in the chicken coop. Lock all doors now whenever I am home alone. Still fucking paranoid about it though. They did not get whoever it was, and it's a small town too. There was blood on the shed, just near where I would have stepped in. Fucking nope. Awake, late one night. 10 years old, really superstitious. Read lots of books about spooky ghosts. Watching Adult Swim. Think I am cool as fuck. Now, before this next part comes along, I want you to know that my family had an open yard, and there were no blinds on my windows. Hear a loud ass knock on the window, about 3 feet behind the head of my bed. Close my eyes. Think it's some spook that will steal my soul if I look at it. Louder knocking, more rapid. There is a sound like loud, screechy windshield wipers. Covers are over my head. End up nearly pissing myself. End up falling asleep after what feels like a few hours. Wake up next morning. Police. My parents won't let me go in the backyard. Not paranormal, but creepy nonetheless. I later learned that my neighbor, who was also my best friend, got fucking chopped up with the rest of her family, and they found her body in my backyard. She lived next door, so she came banging on my window for help, and I shat myself under the covers. That shit does not leave you. I used to live in New York, and me and a friend used to drive down Clinton Road every once in a while because we both like creepy stuff. The first time driving through was boring and nothing happened, but the second time driving down the road was a different story. Friend and I are bored and decide to drive down the road at midnight. Not even a minute into the drive, we see an older man wearing a raggedy, old-school park ranger suit on the side of the road, holding a tree branch. No car around, nothing, just him standing there. He gets up to stop us. It is pretty clear the guy does not have all his marbles. Friend tells me to ignore him, but being the idiotic, law-abiding citizen I am, I comply and crack my window down a little. He immediately tells us to turn around because the road was closed up ahead. There are no signs saying so. I ask him what for. He ignores my question. He starts yelling at us to move along. At this point, he starts hitting the hood of my car with the branch he was holding and screaming, "Go back home," repeatedly. Freak out and floored around him. He does not make an effort to chase us. As I expected, the road was not closed. Fucking homeless people. A different time driving through, a few months later. Me and the same friend drive out to the road at around 1 a.m. for no reason. Everything is cool. Nothing weird so far. Notice some car lights in the distance. Think it's another car coming. Turns out, the car lights were a little ways off the road in the woods. See about 5 or 6 kids in front of the car, doing whatever. They are staring right at us. Slow down a little and roll my window down. Friend yells hi to them because he is stupid. They all start yelling at us to fuck off. Friend calls them assholes in Polish. A couple of them start running towards us and throwing cans and shit at my car. Get the fuck out of Dodge. Fucking Jersey white trash. There is nothing paranormal about that road, just druggies and weirdos that like to fuck with people. This one is actually true, though I tried telling myself I was just a stupid kid and imagined all of it. Be 5 or 6 years old. Be sleeping alone in my room late at night. Wake up to a bright light coming from my closet. Open up my closet door. Part of floor has been removed, and a tunnel going down underneath it with a bright light coming from it. Hear sounds of power tools and banging from down there. House had been undergoing construction, so I thought it just must be that. Go back to sleep. Next morning, I asked my mom if construction workers are gonna stay that late again. Well, what? All of the workers left at 5. Look at closet again. Floorboards show no signs of ever being removed. I'm very confused. Pretend it never happened. Asked parents to let me sleep in the guest room. A few years later, when I thought of it again, I knocked on where the boards were removed, and there was definitely some opening on the other side. Too bad we sold that house. It was really old and had tons of spooky things happen. I have a very distinct memory of me being alone downstairs when I was 4 and staring into the backyard when probably 5 or 6 shadows, they were human shapes but pitch black, rose from the ground and started to bang on a window. B. 3rd grader. Backstory. At school, there is a typical looking man-child, fat guy who hangs around the school bus, greeting children in the morning and plays with them in the afternoon. Heard rumors that this guy assaults some children during playtime. Heard one child tells it to her parents, but they did not believe it. Disregards it since I ride and hang around the school bus area. Fast forward months later. Go to McDonald's playground, which is just in front of the school, also with friends and parents. Parents are downstairs, while the playground is on the 2nd floor. Play with friends for a while. I am inside the tube-like slide, waiting for my friend to slide together. Felt someone huge climb the ladder. It's the man-child. I noped and slide out of playground. He is right behind me when I got out of the slide, laughing in a really creepy Chris Chan voice. Wow, you have a pretty long hair. Both man hands are on my shoulder. Nope, nope, nope. Run quickly downstairs and went home. Other kids did not see what happened, but eventually went home because the guy was also making creepy moves on other kids. So, I used to live in an apartment complex facing another of the same size. I lived on the bottom floor and had just gotten a laser pointer that I would shine around at bedtime out of boredom. So, one night about 3 a.m., I noticed a car pull up to the apartment adjacent to me. A man and a woman come out, go upstairs to the 3rd floor, look around for something. Then they went back downstairs, got in their car, and left. Fucking creepy, right? Well, no. I went to bed and thought nothing of it until I was looking out the window a week later, and they came back, same time. Went upstairs, looked around the ground, went down, got in the car and left. They did it again the next night, and the next. I even fucked with them, shining my laser at them, but they came back every day for a week, and longer. I stopped watching them after a week, but would still catch them once in a while. They never found anything, never knocked, never went inside, never went on any other floor, or to any other building. Me and friend go walking in woods behind my house. Come across a tree that's laying across a 10-foot drop between us and other side. Having fun, walking back and forth. Walk deeper into woods. Friend splits up a little bit, but still in view. Come across a big flat rock laying on the ground. There is fucking dolls with their eyes crossed out, some with nails through them. Ball-peen hammer laying next to them. Another doll hammered to the tree behind the rock. Holy fuck, what the fuck? Yell to friend. He says, holy fuck, what the fuck? Briskly walked back home, pretending it did not freak us out that much. That was weird. I mean, this shit was deep in the woods. It's not like someone just put it there to fuck with people. I really don't think it was supposed to be seen. When I was in probably 6th or 7th grade, me and a buddy found a ripped off deer leg in the middle of a field in the back of my house. It wasn't really that supernaturally terrifying, but there was nothing else but the leg there, and we were just imagining a large coyote dismembering a deer right outside. One time, years later, I was riding my bike on some streets in a neighboring city. I was in a densely wooded area in the back of where a long abandoned old school for mentally disabled people used to be. It was a very narrow path, set on both sides by dense groves of young pines. I rode down a bit and saw a tennis ball roll out into the path in front of me. I ride past it, but as I do so, a very odd-looking balding guy comes out to get it on the path. He definitely looks like he would have been institutionalized in the abandoned school nearby when it was still in use. There was actually another smaller building around that did look like a place that may take care of these people, so I assumed he came out of there. But when he got his ball, then he started to make an awful and loud strange noise at me. It was a sort of angry growl, mixed with a confused grunting. I rode as fast as I could out of there, feeling slightly bad that maybe I should have informed someone of an escapee. He got his ball though. I wish I could remember this better actually. My friends, Cam, Leo, and I went hiking deep into the forest, far away from anyone, just surrounded by nothing but trees and silence. It started as a regular hike, but by the end of it, we had encountered something that none of us can explain. We were making our way through a thick part of the woods, chatting away when we heard it, a deep, earth-shaking roar. It wasn't like any animal that I'd ever heard before. It was low and guttural, like a lion but different. We froze on the spot, exchanging uneasy looks. What's that? Is it a bear? I whispered. Leo shook his head, putting his finger to his lips, gesturing for us to keep moving. After a tense moment of standing still from fear, we did keep moving, though none of us could shake the feeling that something was watching us. The forest seemed darker, and the usual sounds of nature felt muted. A few minutes later, Leo, who was leading the way, suddenly stopped and pointed ahead. "Guys, you need to see this," he said, his voice barely a whisper. What we saw made my stomach turn. Lying ahead of us was a deer that had been completely torn in half. Not like a predator had killed it, but as if something had just pulled it apart with pure strength, like it was nothing. Blood covered the ground, and parts were spread unnaturally far from each other. There was something sickening about the way this poor creature had been killed, but that was not all. There, caught on a nearby branch, was long, thick brown fur. It wasn't from the deer, and this was coarse, like it belonged to something much bigger, something that should not have been out there, something like an ape. We did not even have time to process it before Leo spotted a massive footprint in the mud right next to the scene that was far too big to belong to a human, with deep, heavy impressions. The print looked fresh, like whatever made it had just been there. It almost looked human, but it was much bigger. The thing would have had to have been at least 9 feet tall or larger. And then the smell hit us. It was disgusting, like rotting meat mixed with a wet dog. The air felt thick with it, and it was enough to make us gag. The stench hung in the air like a warning, letting us know that whatever did this was close and it was not something that we wanted to meet. "This isn't a bear," Cam muttered, backing away. He was right. Bears do not tear animals apart like that, and they don't leave prints like what we were seeing. I could feel my heart racing as Leo, wide-eyed, said the words that none of us wanted to hear. Sasquatch. Before any of us could react, we heard that roar again. It sounded closer this time. It was so loud and deep that it felt like it shook the ground beneath us. I felt a chill run down my spine, and we all knew we had to leave now. We ran, hearts pounding, tearing through the forest as fast as we could. The whole time, it felt like something was following us, like we were being hunted. The forest seemed unnaturally quiet, except for the echo of that terrifying roar behind us. Even when we reached the main trail, the fear did not leave. To this day, we do not talk about it much, but none of us have forgotten that footprint, the hare or the deer. It was something beyond explanation.